Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about SimCity 2000, more specifically OpenSimCity 2000. And there was a story evolving in the last couple of days about the game. But before we dive into it, I'm joined by Fog and Blind. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So I guess we all played SimCity 2K back in the days, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll admit just a little bit. I had to revisit it.
Shame.
SimCity 2000 is an absolute classic, and I think a lot of us hold it very dear in our hearts, which is why I was quite excited to see a open source SimCity project popping up a good number of months ago. It was like close to a year ago now, it feels like.
Exactly, and that project now got shut down by EA. They filed an DMCA takedown to GitHub, where the project was posted, and it was deleted from GitHub, and after that the creator or the developer of the open source project was informed by GitHub itself, so he didn't have anything to do with Electronic Arts. Any opinions?
Initially, he was going about this totally the wrong way. If you look at a lot of the more successful open source projects, such as either Core6th, which is mostly finished development, or OpenRCT, it requires the base game installed, because all these games are still on sale, right? Purchase the base game, you install the base game, and then it's like a patch that goes over top and utilizes the original assets and makes its own game, with the exception of OpenTTD, which has full-on tile sets made at this point. The game was taken down due to the game using the original sound effects as well as assets, which is kind of a big no-no, especially if the game is still on sale, which it is on multiple platforms.
I think the main problem was that they were distributing the assets with the download files, as opposed to having a patch of new stuff go over the top of the original files, right?
As I mentioned before, assets for the game SimCity 2000 were being infringed upon, and the takedown states that authorized and legitimate copy of the game can still be found for purchase. So basically they're saying there's no reason for people to be buying this because you can just go buy the original one and mod it to still work. And the developer acknowledged the fact and the risk of the takedown, or worse, in the open SimCity 2000 README, which is nuts. Like he knew that this could happen, and he knew that this was a concern and a threat. All he did for it was he made an extraction tool to extract the assets from the original game. Didn't implement that. He went about his way just distributing copyrighted assets, which I think is completely insane.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange that he chose to go this route, because there are, as we already mentioned, a lot of projects that shows a better route or a non-infringing route that you should go. It kind of reminds me a lot of all these fan-made remakes of games that basically all got shut down because they use copyrighted assets or material in some sort of way.
Like that fan-made Pokemon game or the fan-made Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah, for example.
Other open source projects such as OpenRCT have done methods getting around the intellectual property. Like we talked earlier about how they had a patch that went over the original game and used the original game's assets without infringing on that. Other potential outlets or avenues they could take is, again with OpenRCT, the community have actually come together in an effort to redraw all of the original tiles in their own style in a revision, as to not infringe on the intellectual property, but to try and kind of recapture the original theming that we all remember. So it would be kind of cool to see if there's something possible along the lines of the Open SimCity project. What do you guys think?
All press is good press. And if you have people, like we're talking about it right now, if you have people that now suddenly know about the project, you can move forward with that.
Right. Another point that I kind of want to mention is, obviously it got a lot of press now, and as you said, the original developer or the developer could use that to get more people on board and help him with his project. But on the other side, don't get me wrong, EA is totally right to claim this. But on the other hand, we're talking about a game that's 24 years old. And yes, it's still being sold, but it's again bad press for EA. And I don't think it's the right approach from EA's side, because after all the bad press in the last couple of years, it would show so much greatness of EA to go there and say, yo, you don't have the rights to do this, but go on, because it's cool. It's a 24 years old game. What are your opinions about that?
I think they could have reached out to him in the first place and asked him to remove the assets from the project. Instead of just hitting him with a DMCA takedown request.
I'm going to have to play devil's advocate here. I think when you're a company as big as EA with as many titles and IPs and as much intellectual property as they have, you kind of can't pick your battles sometimes, because you start to set a precedent, a line that you can say, okay, up till here is okay. Games like this, which are 24 years old, that's okay. They run the gambit of, if one thing is okay, why is the other one not okay? So sometimes you just need to come down with a complete blanket saying, no, you can't use our intellectual property unless you license it or unless you go through official streams to get access to it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Fog here. I mean, he could have set up the project in a way that would have been non-copyright infringing and just trucked along his way. But for what it's worth, this is just kind of, from my point of view here, all press is good press, and this project was kind of unknown. There is not much of a community left for these games. Even SimCity 4 has mostly quieted down post-launch of City Skylines. Well, the older city builders are pretty much dead and gone at this point. At least with games like OpenRCT, there's still a very alive and well OG Roller Coaster Tycoon community out there to get behind that and back it, as well as, detail builders and people that can continue to support it, versus SimCity, which is pretty quiet at this point. Maybe this will get some other people helping with the project, and we'll either get a custom tile set or they'll just use the game's assets using export tools instead of providing the assets along with side of the download. I think this is a really bad way of doing it. I think that the developer is at fault here. I think EA should have approached him and asked him to remove them instead of just filing a DMCA. But regardless, maybe some more people know about the project now, and I would love to see this continue at the end of the day. I would love to play this once it becomes more stable.
And I think there's potential good news to take from this whole news story. I want to kind of compare the open source Halo that was made recently, Eldorado, that launched earlier in April. Now, 343 Industries, or Microsoft, the intellectual property owners, issued a takedown for Eldorado. But now we have heard that Halo Infinite is coming. Eldorado proves that there was still an audience for Halo games on PC. We haven't had one of those in a while. It might do good to say there is still an audience for games such as SimCity. There's still an audience that maybe want to forget the last SimCity installment, but hope you'll do something better, or have a word with the developer here and just see what you can do together.
Silver lining is a very good segue to what comes now, because I need a silver lining, and in case of me turning on my fan again before I melt here. So let's wrap up, guys. So first of all, thanks a lot to Fog and Blind for joining and talking about this interesting bit of news with me. And thanks a lot to you guys for watching our videos. If you really enjoy our videos, you may want to consider heading over to Coffee to buy the editor, in this case Blind.
Iced coffee.
A nice coffee due to the hot weather and not a warm coffee. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening again. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Peace out.